Trump versus BRICS, the battle over global financial influence. Since returning to office, U.S. President Donald Trump has taken a confrontational stance toward BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, particularly regarding their efforts to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar. His rhetoric and policies reflect a determination to protect the dollar's dominance in global trade. In November 2024, before his second inauguration, Trump warned BRICS against creating a new currency to challenge the dollar, threatening 100% tariffs on nations supporting such initiatives. By January 2025, he doubled down on social media, asserting that BRICS had no chance of replacing the dollar and that any country attempting to do so would face economic consequences. Upon resuming office, he translated these threats into policy, stating on February 13, 2025, that any trade bypassing the dollar would face a 100% tariff. BRICS response: strengthening financial independence. Rather than engaging in direct confrontation, BRICS has focused on expanding financial sovereignty and reducing dependence on Western-controlled systems. Central to this effort is BRICS Pay, a decentralized payment system designed to bypass SWIFT and facilitate transactions in local currencies. Instead of launching a single BRICS currency, the bloc is prioritizing financial interoperability through initiatives like China's CIPS and India's UPI. BRICS is also strengthening economic ties with Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, supporting regional development banks and launching projects like the BRICS Grain Exchange to enhance financial resilience. Officials, including Russia's Dmitry Peskov, maintain that BRICS aims not to disrupt global institutions but to rebalance financial governance through local currency trade and joint investments. The World Bank and IMF, a growing discontent. One major driver behind BRICS financial initiatives is dissatisfaction with Western-dominated institutions like the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF. Critics argue that these organizations, shaped by U.S. and European leadership, serve Western economic interests at the expense of developing nations. Since its establishment in 1944, the World Bank has always been led by an American, reinforcing U.S. dominance in global financial policies. Similarly, the IMF has exclusively appointed European managing directors, prioritizing policies such as austerity, privatization, and deregulation, often at the cost of social stability in borrowing nations. These institutions' governance structures favor wealthier countries, leaving the global south with little decision-making power despite being the most affected by their policies. The consequences of IMF loans. BRICS countries and many global south nations argue that IMF loans often exacerbate economic hardship rather than alleviate it. Structural adjustment programs, CEPs, imposed by the IMF in the 1980s and 1990s, mandated austerity, trade liberalization, and subsidy cuts, leading to increased poverty, reduced public services, and social unrest. Several historical cases illustrate these issues. Nigeria, 1986 IMF-backed reforms led to inflation and mass protests, culminating in the 1989 anti-SAP riots. Indonesia, 1997–98 IMF-mandated austerity triggered economic collapse and violent protests, contributing to President Suharto's resignation. Egypt, 1977 subsidy cuts led to the bread riots, forcing the government to reinstate financial support for essential goods. Brazil, 1990s austerity measures following a $41.5 billion IMF package sparked protests and social backlash, though the country regained financial independence in 2005. Venezuela, 1989 IMF-mandated fuel price hikes led to violent riots, influencing the rise of Hugo Chavez and a shift away from neoliberal policies. These cases highlight why BRICS nations are pushing for financial alternatives that promote sustainable development without imposing rigid economic conditions. The new Development Bank, NDB, established in 2015, offers loans with fewer policy conditions, greater flexibility, and more transparency. However, as a relatively new institution, it still faces challenges in scaling its influence. The future of global financial power. Trump's aggressive economic stance may accelerate BRICS' efforts to reduce reliance on the dollar. While the U.S. maintains substantial financial leverage, the global system is gradually shifting toward multipolar financial governance. The increasing use of local currencies in trade, coupled with alternatives to SWIFT, signals a challenge to the dollar's supremacy. Although a complete financial shift will take time, BRICS' strategy of economic integration, institutional development, and local currency trade suggests a long-term transformation in global financial leadership. The battle over financial influence is far from over, but BRICS' persistence in reshaping global finance marks a significant shift toward a multipolar world.